Greetings, my noble knights, it is I, Blaze Templar, and today we're going to do something a little different. I have a bit of a rant video revolving around a certain company that has some amazing sounding games, and that, of course, is Paradox Entertainment. Now, this is actually one of the loading screens from Surviving Mars on PS4, and it took about 20 seconds for it to load up. Now, that's one of the nicer loads on this game. And it's one of the issues that Paradox just kind of suffers from overall. And you don't really notice it in gameplay quite as much, but it does get rather chunky. It chugs along very slowly on PS4. And I understand it's not as powerful as a PC would be. I get that. But if you're going to port a game over to PS4, you got to make sure your frame rates don't look like this. So yeah, it's things like this that are big problems. And unfortunately, this isn't the only game from Paradox Entertainment that I've seen have these kinds of issues. The other one of note, which I actually have a lot more problems with, but I don't have footage of, just because I'm not going to risk trying to get that game to boot up and wait until it shows all of its ugly flaws, is Hearts of Iron 4. They're amazing ideas, don't get me wrong. I love these ideas. Like Surviving Mars, the concept of colonizing Mars, surviving, building up a nation that withstands the test of time, kind of civilization style, but in space, that's awesome. And the game wasn't too bad price-wise. I think it was like $20, so not bad. But you can see what I'm getting at, right? On PS4, it just does not play well. And I'm playing on the PS4 Pro. And I'm going to start focusing just on Surviving Mars right now with the PS4, just because of these kinds of issues. Now, another thing I have to note about this game is it loves to crash. Like, for example, I had, I don't know, around, just on one playthrough, about every 4 or 5 hours, honestly, I need to reboot the game if I want to play it, because the game will just crash. It'll just, for whatever reason, it just crashes. No understanding why, no nothing. It's obviously not optimized. Auto-saving like this takes forever. This is actually on a different playthrough, I believe, but it'll probably take about 20 seconds to get through, again. Well, I guess not this time. About 10 seconds. But for an autosave that actually completely disrupts the flow of the game, that's pretty bad. Loads take much longer, which, I mean, on a big game, you kind of expect them. But again, it's not like this is the most graphically intensive game ever. Yes, it does get quite pretty for what it is, but yeah. And it's just unfortunate and obnoxious things like that that cause problems. Let me see. What other issues that I need to bring up on this particular game, besides the crashes, the everything else? Like, I want to love this game. I'm just going to be honest. I want to love this game because, come on, this is awesome in my opinion. The idea is. It allows you to kind of be a kid again and explore your imagination, take to the stars, and imagine how colonizing Mars would be. That's exactly what you want to do in a video game. That kind of awesome stuff. But it just isn't here. It's not optimized. It has the makings of an amazing game. And I think that's the problem I have with Paradox Entertainment. They have the makings of incredible games, where the concept is good, the base gameplay isn't too bad, but they stumble somewhere. And in Surviving Mars, it's these awful frame rate drops, it's the incredibly long duration wait periods for the autosaves to kick in. The load times I could forgive to an extent because you only have to deal with them when you first boot up the game and when you first boot into the map and when you reload the maps, of course. So you can kind of forgive the save or the load screens if that, but it really just starts chugging along rather quickly. And yes, obviously this is a very big map that I'm showing at the moment, but it still doesn't excuse the problems that this game has. And I just think that's something that needs to be brought up. Now, I'm going to go into the other part, which is Hearts of Iron 4, because honestly, I have way more issues with that game than this. But again, I'm not going to get the footage for that just because, no thank you. I'm not dealing with that. No thank you. And it, on the paper, theory is amazing. Basically, Hearts of Iron 4 lets you take control of pretty much any nation you can think of and help it rise to the top or get conquered by Nazi Germany or something. Or be Nazi Germany, take over the world. Awesome stuff. Except it has issues too. One, the game is not stable, which is seemingly a recurring thing with Paradox games. They're not stable. Um, Hearts of Iron 4 has had several patches to help balance its stability a bit more, but it still has issues like that. Just plenty of them, where the game will crash, where units don't know what they're doing. The AI is actually brain dead, especially your commanders. Like, you assign one of the world's best generals to execute a battle plan that'll take them to secure, say, a naval port near your borders. That's a pretty simple battle plan. Sure. But you'd think the AI would understand how to organize themselves. Instead, you have to babysit every single division under your command. Which, no. No Grand Commander babysat every single unit and division in their army. They instead relegated it to their generals to do that for them. That's why there are generals. That's why you have the commander-in-chief, you have the executive commanders, the officers, so forth and so on. And each one has a different job. Like, your commander-in-chief has the overall grand battle strategy plans in order. You have your generals that make decisions on the fly, decide how to alter the plans and whatnot unless they're overridden by their grand commander. But overall, they are expected to have a little bit of autonomy. And I understand you can't have that sheer level in a video game just because control is kind of one of the big deals about a video game. So I do understand to an extent. But to give you a concept of just how bad the AI is, you can give them an order to naval invade, say, from Australia to Japan. And you can have it fortified, and the computer will have no idea how to execute the plan. Just no idea whatsoever. I was playing on Luxembourg, and I ended up having to send something like 30 Marine divisions before they actually figured out, oh, I have to start from this naval base that you told me to go to that naval base. And you had 5 or 6 fleets of ships making sure that it was safe the entire time. Who would have thunk it? And so the game's not intuitive. The game is unstable, and the AI is quite literally brain dead. One of the guys I actually found recently that I enjoy watching, and he actually enjoyed the game a lot more than I did, was the Spiffing Brit. And he kind of demonstrates just how stupid the AI can be. And he uses it and exploits it like you would not believe, which is understandable. That's kind of what his whole shtick is. But when you have games that have these kind of exploitable AI loops, have these exploitable stupid things, yeah, you've got some issues to work out. And I am, before Paradox starts asking questions, if they ever do, I am playing on the most recent versions of these games, and they still chug along, they still crash, they still have brain-dead AI, and it really is unfortunate, because I want to love these games. I want to go, these are the best games ever. And even with all the problems I've had with Surviving Mars, I still do play it some. Not as much as I could be. Not as much as I would love to be. But I still do play it because it has a great concept. I'm probably done playing it now because, again, the game has crashed on me. That happened a couple days ago. But, you know. And I was doing this on editing originally, and I took it out. So I'm actually going to go to Hearts of Iron 4 just to demonstrate that if my mouse cursor will ever move. Come on, game. or I should say my own cutscene. I apparently don't remember how long I was stuck here. I was rambling on apparently the first time, as I am now. But regardless, there we go. I think I'm actually hunting for it. There we go. 52 hours, which you'd think you'd understand the basics by then, but apparently not, because it's still a mess and it's a nightmare to get everything going. So yeah, it's really quite sad, because I wanted to love these games. I wanted them to be successful. I wanted to enjoy them, and that just did not happen. So yeah, my small rant turned out to be about 11 minutes, and I apologize for that. But if Paradox is listening, I urge you, I beg you, fix your problems on these games. Get them to be nice, smooth, stable games. And you might argue, I don't have the most recent DLC to Hearts of Iron 4, so I'm not getting the full experience of the game work as intended. So, yeah, free right now. And I will talk to you next time. Goodbye. Goodbye. One small note that I did forget, actually, is while Hearts of Iron 4 actually does have a very good soundtrack, there are some amazing songs on Hearts of Iron 4. It does sound like you're kind of in the era of World War II, getting ready for a dramatic war and all that, so good on the sound development there. Surviving Mars, though, I ended up having to turn the music off after a while, because they try to make, like, two of them sound like radio stations, which I like that idea, except the tracks, quote unquote, and the commentary repeats very quickly, especially in a game that you're supposed to be able to sit down with for hours on end. Then the other songs, at best, are forgettable and obnoxious. So I ended up having to turn the music off just because I couldn't deal with it anymore. So yeah, that's another thing that I think they could improve on. But regardless, now it's goodbye. So see you all next time, Noble Knights. Farewell.